Well, hello there. Welcome back to the channel. My name is James, and here at 20th and 21st Movies, we are about all things cinema. Well, I'm excited today to share with you my thoughts on a film that I've recently watched. This is a film that is one of the titles that I picked up as part of the recent 50% off Criterion Collection sale at Barnes & Noble. And it's one of the titles that I picked up that was a title that came out from Criterion in the month of July. And it's the 1938 screwball comedy Bringing Up Baby, starring Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant, and directed by Howard Hawks. So this is a wonderful screwball comedy that I've seen for the first time with this new Criterion Collection edition, and I'm very much looking forward to sharing with you my thoughts on this title. So in this video, I want to take just a few minutes to share my thoughts. I'll tell you a little bit about what I think about this movie, what I think about the video and the audio presentation on this Criterion Collection Blu-ray disc, and I'll talk a little bit about the supplements and just the total package that is Bringing Up Baby from the Criterion Collection. This comes in at spine number 1085 in the Criterion Collection. It's the first appearance of this film in the collection, and it's a really nice one. I'll just say right off the top that this is a very nice addition from the Criterion Collection. And there's so much that I like and love about this release that I'm looking forward to telling you about. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about this particular film. And before I do, just let me say right off the top that when I do a review of a film, I try to sort of skirt around the edges. You know, I try to sort of stay outside of spoilers or say anything that would give away anything or in any way spoil the film. So I try to stay away from spoilers to the extent possible whenever I talk about a film. So I sort of dot around the edges just to give you a general idea of what the movie's about, because there's so much about watching a film that I believe needs to be experienced for yourself. That you don't want someone to tell you something about a movie that you would have rather experienced on your own without knowing about it. So for example, I hate it when a person reviews a film and they tell me how great the ending was or how shocking the ending was. Even if you don't say what the ending is, you've just spoiled the movie, right? Because now I know there's something in the ending that I need to be looking out for that's supposedly shocking. So I try to avoid spoilers to the extent as possible, and that's what I'll do here with Bringing Up Baby. So Bringing Up Baby essentially is about Cary Grant's character is named David Huxley, and he's a paleontologist, and he is in the process of assembling this giant dinosaur skeleton, a brontosaurus skeleton, and he's got almost all the pieces, but he's missing one piece of the skeleton. And he's also engaged to a lady named Alice Sparrow, who's played in this film by Virginia Walker, actress Virginia Walker. And the funny thing about Alice Sparrow is they're engaged, but she's more interested in David Huxley from a professional standpoint. So she's not really into the romantic side of things. She's interested in him only for professional reasons and is interested only in his paleontology, which is pretty odd, but that's Alice Sparrow. So David Huxley is also working on getting a $1 million donation or endowment from a wealthy society lady named Elizabeth Random, who happens to be the aunt of Katharine Hepburn's character in this film. So David Huxley is working to get this $1 million donation from Miss Random to further his research in his museum. And very soon into this picture, he runs into Susan Vance, who's played by Katharine Hepburn. That's Katharine Hepburn's character. She's the niece of Elizabeth Ransom. And Susan Vance takes a liking to Cary Grant's character, and then the rest is history. They go on this zany, crazy, pratfall, misadventure, screwball comedy that is Bringing Up Baby, with part of the misadventures including this pet leopard that plays very heavily into the story. So that's Bringing Up Baby. This is one of the craziest screwball comedies that I have seen to date. And there's so much in the way of physical comedy that goes on in this film that you just have to see for yourself. That is just hilarious, funny, and great to see Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn in these roles, in all the physical comedy, in all of the zaniness and the crazy situations that they get in as part of the screwball narrative of this film. They really cut loose with this film. This is one of the screwiest of screwball comedies that you will ever see. And it's just great to see Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn with their chemistry together on screen being what it is, just doing their thing. And this film is so entertaining as a screwball comedy. It's entertaining as a romantic comedy. And it just works. And I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Bringing Up Baby is one of 4 collaborations between Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. They appeared on screen together in 4 movies, including Bringing Up Baby. And there's a couple of other additions from Criterion with these two together, including The Philadelphia Story, which also stars James Stewart, and Holiday. So check those titles out from the Criterion Collection as well. But these two on screen together are magical. They have fantastic chemistry, and it comes across beautifully in Bringing Up Baby. This is a thoroughly entertaining screwball comedy all the way around. Another aspect of Bringing Up Baby that makes this film so great and entertaining is this fantastic supporting cast. So you have May Robson, who plays Aunt Elizabeth Random. So she is the aunt of Susan Vance, Katharine Hepburn's character. You also have Walter Catlett, who plays Slocum. You've got Charles Ruggles, who plays Major Applegate. You also have Barry Fitzgerald in this film. Barry Fitzgerald plays Mr. Gogarty, and he also played in the Jules Dassin film, The Naked City. So it was really nice to see Barry Fitzgerald in this film as well. And just making that connection of, oh, here's Barry Fitzgerald playing in Bringing Up Baby. This is a role he played 10 years before he played that detective in 1948's The Naked City. So that was a pretty interesting connection that I picked up in this film that I appreciated. So much of what makes Bringing Up Baby work as a film is the performances of Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. I mean, Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn both brought so much physical comedy to their roles that just make it as funny as it is. Also, the crazy banter between Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn, and Cary Grant with other characters in the film, including Aunt Elizabeth Random. It's just a hilarious, crazy, zany film all the way around that I thoroughly enjoyed and definitely want to rewatch again. Another aspect of this film that's also talked about and covered in the supplements is the nice special effects that were done around the leopard. So there was an actual leopard that appeared in this film, like a baby or young leopard. And I believe the trainer's name was a lady named Nina. And they did an amazing job working with this trained animal, this leopard in this film. And the supplements talk about how Katharine Hepburn kind of warmed up to the leopard a lot more than Cary Grant did. Cary Grant really didn't want much to do with this live leopard on set. So they had to do some special work to kind of, keep the animal away from him and be able to shoot things in a way that would make it appear that the animal was actually in the same frame with him, but really wasn't. So the special effects work that they did around the leopard throughout this film were really impressive, and I think the supplements do a great job of covering that. So overall, I really enjoyed Bringing Up Baby. I think this is a very, very good film. It's a zany, crazy screwball comedy that is probably the craziest screwball comedy that I've ever seen. I'm not sure where I would rank it among the screwball comedies that I've seen. I'd have to give a little bit of thought to that. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen Bringing Up Baby, and if you have, where would you rank this film among Hollywood screwball comedies? Where would Bringing Up Baby rank for you? Is it at the top? Is it around the middle of screwball comedies for you, or somewhere else? Let me know that in the comments below, how you feel about Bringing Up Baby in relation to other screwball comedies. But for me, I really enjoyed this film. I always love seeing Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn in pretty much everything that they've played in. They're some of my favorite performers in classic Hollywood. This is a great screwball comedy all the way around, and I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and definitely feel this is a strong recommendation just on the strength of the film itself. This is classic Hollywood, classic screwball comedy at its best, Bringing Up Baby from 1938. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the video and audio presentation for Bringing Up Baby from the Criterion Collection. So what you have on here is you have a new restored 4K digital transfer with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. So if I open up this case here, and I'll go ahead and open it up so you can see what's inside. Nice booklet. I'll go ahead and show that to you now. Very nice booklet here, and it's an actual stapled booklet. And inside this booklet, it talks about the transfer and the restoration. And essentially, Bringing Up Baby is presented in its original aspect ratio of 1.37 to 1. Its existing film elements are few and problematic. Working with the Warner Brothers archive, preservationist Craig Johnson identified the two best pieces of film, a 35mm nitrate duplicate negative from the British Film Institute and a 35mm safety fine grain positive. So they then scanned both of those elements into 4K and they did the cleanup work and the restoration. But you can see right there in the description that included in this booklet here that the elements that they had to work with were fairly problematic. And you sort of see that when you see this film. Now, I will say that overall, the film looks very, very good in high definition. I think the restoration team did a fantastic job in restoring this film. But to cut to the chase, I will say that while the picture quality looks pretty good throughout the runtime of the film, it's not the sharpest presentation, okay? This is a film from 1938. The elements were problematic that they had to work with, and I think the restoration team did a great job, a yeoman's effort in restoring the film to look as best as it possibly can with the tools that we have today. So overall, I think this 4K digital restoration turned out very nice. This film looks very good in high definition, but overall, the level of sharpness is not the sharpest film that you'll see. The image looks very good, but it falls short of great due to the limitation of the elements that they had to work with. From an audio standpoint, I think this film sounded just fine. It's got an uncompressed monaural soundtrack, and it sounds just fine. I could hear everything in the film. The dialogue came across very clean, and it had absolutely no issues from an audio standpoint. So overall, from a video and audio standpoint, for this edition from Criterion of Bringing Up Baby, I think this film is just fine. It's a nice presentation. The video presentation is very good considering the elements that they had to work with, and the audio presentation is just fine. So there's really no concerns from a video and audio standpoint. Just don't expect to see the sharpest presentation of an older film for this edition from Criterion. All right, so let's take a moment to talk about the supplements for Bringing Up Baby, which I think is probably the best aspect of this release from the Criterion Collection. I think the movie is great. The movie is fantastic. The video and audio presentation is just fine. But I think what really makes this edition and puts it over the top and makes it one of my honorable mentions for my best of Criterion so far for 2021 is the supplements. The supplements really round out this release. So let's go through them real quickly here. Of course, I talked about the 4K digital restoration, the uncompressed monaural soundtrack. You get a very nice audio commentary on here from 2005 with Peter Bogdanovich, and he does a very nice job of breaking down this film. It's very much worth listening to. You also get a very nice new video essay on actor Cary Grant by author Scott Eamon. And that is a very nice video essay. Cary Grant is one of my favorite actors of all time, him and James Stewart and Sidney Poitier and a lot of those classic actors. And this feature, this video essay from Scott Eamon does a really nice job of breaking down Cary Grant's career, starting back to his early days when he was still going by his given name, Arthur Leach, before he took on the stage name of Cary Grant. So it covers that early period of his career and then takes you up to the later parts of his career. And I think that video essay really gives you a nice overview of Cary Grant and really taught me a lot about one of my favorite actors. So I really, really like that video essay on actor Cary Grant. It's excellent. You also have a new interview about the cinematographer. So the cinematographer for this film, Bringing Up Baby, is Russell Meddy. And so they do a really nice job of breaking down Russell Meddy and his contribution to cinema during his career. And that's covered by a cinematographer named John Bailey. You have a new interview with Craig Barron. So I love Craig Barron's features. He's done some features for like Charlie Chaplin films, talking about special effects. And on here, he talks about special effects in this film, Bringing Up Baby, in particular, how they did the effects around the leopard. So very informative piece from Craig Barron on those special effects. And then you have a interesting new selected scene commentary about costume designer Howard Greer, featuring costume historian Shelley Foote. That's, an okay inclusion as well. But then you've got Howard Hawks' A Hell of a Good Life, a 1977 documentary by Hans Christoph Blumenberg, featuring the director's last filmed interview. Very informative interview with Howard Hawks. He just goes into his philosophy of filmmaking. He goes into, the several aspects of his life in terms of what he enjoyed outside of filmmaking, and the fact that, he really wasn't into the Hollywood scene. He wasn't really into mixing. He would have certain actors that were his favorites that he would hang out with from time to time. Either he would go out with those actors or have them come to his house, but he really wasn't one to mix with Hollywood society. He was more, more to himself and into his hobbies. He was into like woodworking and metalworking, and he'd meet with stars like Clark Gable, Gary Cooper at his house. He said that he was more of a storyteller and not an artist, and that he didn't think that his work was art at all, and that his filmmaking style, he wasn't really into a lot of fancy camera tricks. So I found that really, really interesting in that feature about Howard Hawks. You also have another feature on here that is very fascinating, that I think is a nice bookend to the video essay on Cary Grant. You have an interview, an audio interview from 1969 with Cary Grant. That's an audio interview where he's being interviewed by, I believe, university students, and it's in 1969. So he's, of course, at that point, he's no longer acting, he's retired, and he's reflecting on his career. And the students are just, giving him different questions, and he's answering the questions in a freewheeling style. And it's just a really nice, insightful interview from Cary Grant that I highly recommend listening to, in addition to watching that video essay as well. Just a great, great overview on Mr. Grant. You also have some audio excerpts from a 1972 conversation between Hawks and Bogdanovich. You have a trailer. And then, of course, included in the booklet in here, you have an essay by critic Sheila O'Malley and the 1937 short story by Hagar Wilde, on which this film Bringing Up Baby is based. So if you look on the inside here, you'll see, of course, the nice disc art here, the stapled book here. Very nice artwork there, as I showed here. Essay Bones, Balls, and Butterflies by Sheila O'Malley is absolutely excellent. And then you have this story, Bringing Up Baby. Very nice, that's included in here. And of course, about the restoration, and you see the Brontosaurus skeleton here. So overall, a very nice package from the Criterion Collection of Bringing Up Baby. The supplements on here are absolutely fantastic. I think the supplements do a really good job of covering the making of this film, covering a lot about Howard Hawks, the director. You really get a lot of good insight into the director of this film. And you also get some really nice insight into actor Cary Grant. The only thing I would say as maybe an improvement might have been if they could have included a little bit more about actress Katharine Hepburn. It would have been nice to get a little bit more about Miss Hepburn in the supplements here, but the supplements that are included on here are absolutely fantastic. And I think they do a really nice job of rounding out your appreciation for this film. So kudos to Criterion on a nice group of supplements for Bringing Up Baby. And so overall, I think this is a fantastic addition from Criterion. I enjoyed the film. I think it's a great screwball comedy. I think it's screwball comedy at its craziest and best. It's got two of the best actors of old Hollywood in Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. Howard Hawks does a fantastic job directing this film. I think from a technical standpoint, the video and the audio, while it's not the absolute best presentation of an older film, is certainly more than good enough. It looks just fine and it sounds fine as well. And the supplements do a great job of really giving you a better understanding of this film and what went into making it and the actors who played in it. So kudos all the way around to Criterion on a very nice overall well-rounded package for Bringing Up Baby. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the Criterion Collection edition of Bringing Up Baby. This comes in again at spine number 1085 in the Criterion Collection. Stars Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant, directed by Howard Hawks, 1938 film, screwball comedy. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this film? Have you picked up this edition from the Criterion Collection as part of the recent sale? If so, what do you think about this film? What do you think about this edition from Criterion? And what are your thoughts on screwball comedies in general? Let me know that in the comments below. Also, let me know what titles from the Criterion Collection are you looking forward to picking up in the remainder of this year. So as we look at titles coming out in August, coming out in September and October, what titles are you looking forward to the most? And lastly, what titles are you hoping get announced in the upcoming November announced titles? Let me know that in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time at the movies. Peace.